So real quick, before I begin the video, I did hit 100,000 subscribers, and that's like a really big number. And I felt like I should address it. Um, I'm not a very touchy feely person, and I'm also not a type of person that usually celebrates special occasions. I just another day is another day, you know. But I don't. I'm not ungrateful, and I would like to express my gratefulness. The fact that there are so many of you that genuinely enjoy the stuff I do, despite how god awful it all is, and how just unprofessional everything I do is. It's pretty cool. It's it's really nice that people want to follow the channel and the stuff I do, despite how how I'm just not good at shit. And I don't know, I think that's kind of cool sometimes. Yeah, so despite not being very touchy-feely, I would still like to thank you uh for, subscribing and whatnot. I would like to thank everybody, that regularly likes and comments. I don't thank people or really ask for that often or ever. But we'll take the time to do it now. So yeah, let's get on with the video. Hey folks, it's that time of year again. I'm going to give you the list that you did not ask for, but you're going to get anyways. This might be the last year I can do it with the music videos in the ranking, because, they might start jailing people for fucking copyright strikes. Thanks, DMCA. Don't you love the free market? Wow, so free, so market. This is my top 10 K-pop songs of 2020. I'm going to say this is the most disappointing year yet. I just want to feel the way I did in 2015 to 2017. You kiddos, you don't know the joys of 2015 to 2017 K-pop. You guys don't know what it was like to be in one of the golden years. Usually when I start thinking about the list, there will be like a lot of obvious answers to me, ones that I'm like, yes, that one's definitely going on the list. There will at least half of them will be the obvious answer, like that first layer. The rest of them will be like a second layer issue where I'm like, okay, I like these songs, but which ones deserve to be on the list and which ones don't. It felt like 80% of the songs on this list were that second layer, and that's proven by the fact that at least half the songs on the honorable mentions list were once on the top 10 list, but got booted out because I was indecisive. Yeah, it wasn't great, especially those early year comebacks. It started getting better as the year went on, but those early year comebacks were kind of disappointing. It's just not the same anymore. Anyways, rant over. Let's get into my top 10 K-pop songs of 2020. This was one of the two songs where when I heard it, I was like, it's going on the list. This is the top tier song. This is not a second level. This is a first level. Tiger Eyes by Ryu Sujung. I don't know much about Lovelyz. I don't know much about Ryu Sujung as a whole, but this song is just great. It's such a good song. Great commentary, Nick. Good job. I mean, that's just it. I listened to it and I went, it's going on the fucking list. End of discussion. It stayed on the list ever since I heard it, and it never got booted out. Not once. Next song, Oops, I'm Sorry by April. April really said, oops, I'm sorry, 'cause I'm so pretty. This was actually the other song where I first heard it and I went, yep, it's going on the list and it's staying on the list. And it did. It stayed on the list all year. It did not get booted off once. So, good job, April. I stand April this year. Speaking of April, they made it on the list twice. La La Li La La by April also made it on the list. April actually almost made it on the list 3 times, but I controlled myself. JK, it got booted off the list. So they almost made it 3 times on the list. So, I mean, with that being said, April really crushed it this year, and I appreciate them in the industry right now. Next entry, Doom Da Da Doom by A-Pink. I actually don't think A-Pink have ever made it on the list before, so that's pretty good, considering a lot of their pops are from before 2015. An older group re-catching my attention is pretty good. You guessed it, Can't You See Me by TXT. Believe it or not, the TXT songs on this list, they didn't stay on the entire year. They were booted off and then put back on and then booted off and then put back on. I wasn't sure, but they did end up on the list eventually. They didn't have the same impact as Crown and Runaway, but they're still good. Like, they still give me that, like, old K-pop mixed with modern K-pop fusion that I like so much. To be fair, I don't know what boy groups have been up to lately, just because I haven't really been in that scene, but it really feels like TXT are trying to stay unique amongst a bunch of copycats. So I can appreciate that. I think TXT has the platform and the company as they debuted to do that, much like, you know, NCT did and whatnot, you know. I can really appreciate them keeping boy groups afloat. Next entry, Voice by Luna. This is a fucking great song, and it should have been the title track. Everybody loves Voice. It's such a good song. I even made a great edit on Twitter. I guess it's not even an edit that much. It was probably one of the easiest edits I've ever made in my life. It should have gotten more love, though, because that edit plagued my mind until I made it. It was on my mind every fucking time I listened to the song, and I had to make it, or I was going to die. Here's the edit, because it needs more love, and it makes me laugh. I love how it fits perfectly. And, like, I knew it was going to fit perfectly before I even made the edit, but the fact that it was just so perfect, the experience was enhanced. And now I can't even look at the real dance of the song anymore, because I can only see these 80s dancing people. It's the only thing I can see when I hear the song. I'm still being plagued by it, and I've already done it. Next entry, Mago by G-Friend. I can't believe G-Friend booted off G-Friend from the list. Apple was originally on the list, but then Mago booted it off. G-Friend beating G-Friend 2020. I mean, like, I do like G-Friend's old music, like the older stuff. I liked that feel that Love Whisper gave, but G-Friend was always a type of group where I wouldn't pick out individual songs and, like, fixate on them, but rather I would listen to, like, entire albums and entire discographies, which is why there are a lot of groups that don't end up on these lists, because I don't see them as single song groups. I see them as discography groups for, like, ambiance. and GFriend was that for me, but lately GFriend has been shifting from an ambiance type of group to a specific song type of group where I'm like picking out songs and fixating on them because they're such good songs. This is GFriend's first entry on one of these lists, and I think that's a momentous occasion. Not to mention the styling for GFriend lately. God, like, this is what they mean when they say goth girlfriend. This is the aesthetic I want. This is the aesthetic you want. This is the aesthetic. I didn't know whether to keep this on the list or not, but Monster by Seulgi and Irene from Red Velvet.
I'm a little monster. I'm a little monster.
Please ignore Irene's scandal. Just ignored it for a little bit. You know what? I didn't hate the song when I first listened to it. I listened to it and I was kind of like not totally impressed. But then I saw someone on Twitter analyze it from like a music theory geek perspective, and I suddenly the song was enhanced for me. Like they pointed out all of the elements of horror that were put into the song to make it a more like horror themed, Halloween themed song. You know, the laughing children in the background. You know, that melody from Nightmare on Elm Street. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. It's a really, it's like a staple in horror. So putting that in the song, Monster, meant to be, you know, more of a horror themed song, was, you know, really clever, I think. And I couldn't stop hearing it after someone pointed it out. And it made me like really, really like the song, opposed to when I was just kind of uninterested at first. Next entry, Blue Hour by TXT. I didn't know if I was going to put this on the list or not. This is one of the songs that was like a last minute decision, because this, in comparison to some of the songs that got booted off the list, were pretty even. So I was having a hard time with these last two songs figuring out if they should stay on the list or not. Like a lot of songs, I was unimpressed at first, but it grew on me because I really like the happier feel to it. We don't really see that with boy groups much anymore, and I really appreciate, once again, I really appreciate what TXT is doing for boy groups right now. It is very rare for them to do like a very like a happier concept that's, you know, not trying to be dark, deep, and masculine. I do appreciate Blue Hour for that reason, and you know, it's just a nice vibe song for, you know, good vibes and shit, so I'll keep it on there. TXT gets 2 places on the list once again. We know you're a MOA. Shut up, Nick. And last entry for this year, Losing You by Wonho.
Baby, I would go to war for you. Build an army if you need me to. Yeah. 'Cause losing me is better than losing you.
I'm glad he made a Korean version so I could put it on the list. I missed Wonho. With me, it's all or nothing with, you know, slower songs that are more emotional and shit. I either absolutely fucking hate them or I absolutely fucking love them. And Losing You, I absolutely love it. I heard it and I was like, this is great. I mean, I was taken aback by the English version in the music video, but I mean, as soon as I got to the Korean version, I was like, okay, yeah, this is going on the list. I miss Wonho. I love Wonho. I love the emotion in this song. It's for when you're in the feels, I guess. Yeah, 2020 was really weird. Stray Kids made it onto the honorable mentions. I never thought a Stray Kids song would make it onto any of the lists, but here we are. Okay, that is the list. I'm hoping next year won't be as disappointing. Now time for revisions. You're probably asking, Nick, you've done this so many revisions before. How can you possibly revise your fucking lists again? But That's what I say to you. From 2015, I am going to change out Papi by FX to Love Me Right by EXO because I had a Love Me Right by EXO kick for a while, and I missed that era of K-pop, and Love Me Right's such a good fucking song. I don't know why I booted it off in the first place. Why was that not on the list in the first place? Could have sworn I put it on the list. Did I switch it out at one point? And then in 2017, I'm changing out Excuse Me by AOA to Lunatic by Luna. It's because of the Mina thing. I love Excuse Me, but the Mina thing. Much like Psycho by Red Velvet, I'm really hesitant to... Because I like those two songs, Lunatic and Psycho, but like the ableist language really puts me off usually. So I'm going to ignore it for the sake of Luna. I'm going to ignore it. But it does bother me, and I think that's also why Psycho didn't end up on last year's list, because of the ableist language. No matter how much I try to ignore it, sometimes it bothers me. Like, it just irks me. But they don't say lunatic too much in that song, so I can ignore it. It's by the unit Odd Eye Circle in Luna. So in 2018, I'm switching out Latata by Idol and switching it out with We Go Up by NCT Dream. I just got bored with Latata, I'm not gonna lie. It got annoying. You could only Latata so much. In 2019, to be fair, in 2019 with these two songs, I was like fighting with myself on which one to put on there in the first place. And I ended up putting Enough by SF9, but like Devil by CLC is so good. So I'm gonna switch it out this year. Sorry, SF9. I'm gonna switch it out to Devil by CLC. If I could have an 11th entry, they'd both be on there anyways. So it doesn't really matter too much. See you next year.